So next time I go on a holiday, I'm gonna take this mic with me.
Yeah, you take your mic, I'll just take my peacock. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Desi Outsiders podcast. Today we will talk about the untold story of the younger daughter.
The younger Indian daughter.
The younger Indian daughter, that's right, Ankita, because not every young daughter in the world faces what we'll talk about today.
Yep.
So, Ankita, you've had a nice 3-week hiatus in Greece, and it turns out on Skype, as we speak, you've come back as a shining, tanned Greek goddess. And I'm still trying to figure out how to put my stethoscope on a patient's chest.
Oh, yeah. Some people say I got a tan. Some people say I don't look different at all. I think I got a uniform tan.
So how many messages did you get from your family asking you to use Fair and Lovely?
My parents don't care anymore because I'm married now, right? So
Yeah, so that's Shane's problem to worry about now.
yeah.
So, Ankita, I've actually really missed speaking to you because, we have a lot of fun as we talk, and we speak about things I don't get to speak to with my normal friends around here. So I just decided to buy a peacock, and I stuffed it up, and I've just
What?
placed you next to the mirror,
What?
and I can speak to that. You claim that you sound like a peacock, so I just used.
I didn't even get that.
So, Ankita, unfortunately, the peacock wasn't very responsive, and I think it was just slowly dying as it listened to me. It didn't have that animation that you have. so back.
Oh my God. You have no idea, Meena. Shane is listening to this and he's trying his best to not laugh so as to not destroy our podcast. Like he has his fist in his mouth right now.
Well, I mean, Ankita, I think that we always have a great time on the podcast, and it's just something I really look forward to, like just long days in the hospital, long days studying, and it's a really nice way for me to relax. And the past 3 weeks while you were on Greece, apart from stalking you on Instagram, this new thing that Instagram have done where you can put your story on as well.
Yep.
And every time I open Instagram, Ankita is in Greece. She's doing this, she's doing that, and I'm like, bitch, get your ass over here. Let's get this podcast going.
No, honestly, as much as I enjoyed Greece, as much as I enjoyed all the blue waters and the clear blue skies that Scotland hardly ever offers,
Yeah.
I really missed being, active in the sense that I was not active physically. I was not doing anything.
Oh,
and
Ankita, tell
even,
me about
like,
it.
Yeah, and even mentally, I was not doing anything productive. I was only writing for my blog. I only wrote, I think, twice per week as opposed to 5 times a week that I usually do.
Yeah.
And I was not recording for the podcast. And you know how busy everything was up until the Greece trip. So immediately after I boarded my flight, everything was relaxed and calm, and I just couldn't get into that mode.
Yeah.
And I really missed my microphone. So next time I go on a holiday, I'm going to take this mic with me.
Yeah, you take your mic, I'll just take my peacock. Yeah, so actually, Ankita, now that you speak about that, I totally agree with what you're saying, that getting away from your busy life is important sometimes. But,
Yep.
when you don't have a routine, when you don't have that your body's moving all the time, it starts to affect you. And
It does.
one thing I noticed is that it starts to affect you and it becomes a cycle where you just get lazier and lazier, and your productivity just hits a big low. But I think
Yep.
you've had a great time the past 3 weeks, and I hope that you're ready now to speak about a lot of things. And
Yep.
you spend the time in Greece with your husband and with your friends as well. Like did you have Greek friends or?
We have one Greek friend in Edinburgh, and through him, we've met already a bunch of friends who actually visited Edinburgh a few months ago. And when we went to Greece, we already knew all of those people, and we met more of their friends and their family. And
so were these Greek families like really loud and really just
yes.
open, and that's what they're
Yep.
like, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
This is the life. This is life in the Mediterranean, Ankita. Everyone is so welcoming.
And they're really fun-loving and nice, loud people. They're pretty much like an Indian family.
Hmm.
At one point, our friend's mom asked him, "Why won't you accept me on Facebook? What wrong did I ever do to you? Wait till your child doesn't accept you on Facebook." And I was like, wow, modern family dinner table
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, it's a very different lifestyle because they're very close as families, and so are we as
Yeah,
Indian people. But the closeness is on a different scale.
yeah,
That closeness is more like friends and much more open. Whereas our
yeah,
closeness is more of out of respect to some
yeah,
extent. Not all the time. Don't get
yeah,
me wrong, but to some extent, it's more out of respect and more out of I
mm,
have to take care of my mom, I have to take care of my dad, and it's that
yeah.
kind of thing. But it's really great that you saw that sort of lifestyle.
Yeah, it
And
was amazing.
so yeah, back to our podcast because I don't know how interested people are in our lives, but we can speak about the untold story of the younger daughter. And I really believe that this is an important topic to talk about, especially after coming out of the topic of love marriage, because this is one big branch that isn't tackled enough by
Yep.
our society and even by our own families. So, Ankita, you have written a piece for us on feminismindia.com. I think it's important that you just tell our listeners exactly what happened and what we're going to talk about.
So, as you said, Meenal, this is something that I personally have not gone through because I'm a single child. I don't have any siblings, but this is something I've seen, I've witnessed in the homes of friends and other people. I've heard so many
And
stories,
if
and
you witness all of this, Ankita, but has anybody
yeah,
sort of acknowledged it? Has anybody
nope,
thought that
nope.
actually this is the real problem?
No, they just suffer in silence. So I think it'll be more clear to our listeners once I explain a scenario
Yep.
to them. So picture this. There's a girl. She has an elder sister, and the elder sister falls in love with a classmate from college or wherever, and this boy is from a different community. Now, obviously, the family doesn't approve, but the sister is stubborn that she wants to be with this guy. So she refuses to forsake her right to be with a man that she chose for herself, and the family is not happy with it. And now, once the family gets frustrated about this, they know that they can't legally stop her from doing anything. They can't legally stop her from going after the man that she wants to be with. So they start with emotional melodrama. That doesn't work.
Yep.
So they try the all too notorious method of threatening, all
Hmm.
the threats that I will kill you, or I will stop you from going to college, or I will make sure you don't work anymore, or I will go kill your boyfriend. Stuff like that. And
Yep.
finally, when she gets fed up with all of the melodrama and all the threats, everything escalates and she decides to take matters into her own hands. She packs her bags and she leaves the house and basically elopes with the guy. Now, what happens is a few years later or a few months later, this sister may be living a happy life with her boyfriend or husband or whoever. She may be away from the family. She'll be doing her own thing. Whether that works out or not, at least she'll be responsible for her own actions, etc. But the family will try to stay away from church, will try to stay away
Hmm.
from temples, from
Yeah.
community gatherings, and they will say, "Oh, everyone's looking at us because our daughter brought shame to the family," and they have to fix the problem
Yeah.
somehow,
Yeah.
right? They have to do damage control.
Hmm.
Now, this is what our topic is about because, God forbid, if this girl who eloped with her boyfriend left a younger sister back home, the damage control takes place over there.
Now that the elder sibling has left, she's left everything behind.
Yep.
Now the parents have these emotions. The parents they have to, as you said, they have to do damage control. Now who
Yep.
are they going to let it out on? The poor little girl who's left behind, and she can't really do much. So what happens now? Then if you think about it, the parents are obviously thinking, actually, we must have done something terribly wrong for our daughter to actually go behind our backs and do this. So now
And what is that thing that is terribly wrong?
well, terribly wrong in their eyes, obviously.
Mm.
Nobody knows the real truth. The thing is, Ankita, any scenario we speak about in any episode, this is all relative, yeah, because
Yep.
everyone has a story. One thing I just really want to emphasize is that obviously everybody's scenario is different. It's not going to
Yep.
play out in the exact way we say it, and people will react in different ways, and people will have different experiences. But I think the main idea we're trying to bring out here is that parents and families and relatives, they don't realize that they try so hard to create this perfect family or this perfect bubble that when one little thing is knocked away, they're afraid that's going to have a domino effect and everything's going to keep falling, and they try to save it, which is quite difficult. I mean, you've seen
Yep.
dominoes fall across. Like, it's not easy to
Yeah.
stop. So they will start putting this pressure on the younger daughter and saying, you can't do this because we let our older daughter do this, and this is what's happened.
And you know the sad thing is that the things they tell their younger daughter that she shouldn't do are basic rights or privileges. Like, I wouldn't say rights so much, but they're basic privileges, things that most kids don't even think twice about. For example, access to the internet, or having or possessing a mobile phone.
And the thing is, Ankita, we are very privileged to have all these things. You know, obviously, our parents give us a mobile phone, they give us the internet, and we have everything because they help us. But these are also our rights. You know, to some extent, we're humans and we have the right to access the internet. We have the right to call our friends, to speak to our friends on the phone. And I mean, when I look at it from my point of view, Ankita, when you tell me that someone's phone has been taken away or they can't speak to this person, feels like a sort of human right has been taken away, you know, because it can go that extreme. You know, when they say that you can't speak to this person, you can't do this and you can't do that. I mean, what can the poor person do? You might as well just be in Guantanamo Bay and in a prison over there. Like, it's...
No, there was this incident when something like this happened, like a daughter elopes and the younger daughter is left behind, and immediately the internet connection in their house is cut off. And I think the dad even goes to the extent of locking the landline, so only he can unlock it. If anyone wants to make a call, you make a call in his presence or something like that. And this younger daughter had to do that. And
that sounds like a lot of effort.
Yeah, a lot of it. So basically, when he goes to work, no one uses the phone.
So they can't call anyone, they can't communicate with anybody. And Ankita, you see these, and sometimes I hear these stories, right? And I'm just thinking, how desperate do people have to be to go to these extremes? Because to tell a young girl, like, you can't speak to your friends or you can't go on your phone, you know, but especially when they haven't done anything wrong. And you've just
they are getting punished for something that their sibling did, and this is what leads to so much resentment. That's another thing. So it's not just that, right? It's also about co-ed institutions. Like, oh, you got a good seat, a merit seat in a good college, but no, you can't go because your sister eloped with a guy because she went to a mixed college. Now, if you interact with boys, you are going to fall in love with someone too, and you are going to elope too, and we have to avoid that. So you can only go to a girls' college.
Well, Ankita, I specifically remember before I came to university, my parents said to me that, you know, Meenal, you're going to university and you're going to see loads of boys, you're going to see loads of people. And obviously they were trying to say, like, don't get a boyfriend, you know, that kind of thing. And so they feel like they don't have any more control. And this is when they start becoming desperate and they start saying, actually, if they let their daughter go off to university, or if they let their daughter go off somewhere for her to progress in her life, they will find a way to make sure that they know exactly what's going on here in her life. They will follow the daughter and they will see what she's doing, or they'll call her all the time, and they'll always be there because they feel that they're just thinking we can't fuck up again. They don't realize that, yeah, you can't fuck up again, that's fine, but what has this poor girl done?
Yep. I mean, what is proximity to the male sex going to do, right? Mm-hmm. Just by going to a co-ed college, oh, you're also like your sister, you're going to find yourself a boyfriend who's from another community and you'll run away with him. Why did she have to run away in the first place? See, that's something I don't want to get into right now.
Yeah, the thing is, otherwise, I think why this elder sibling ran away.
Yeah, this villain in our story.
The thing is, now this person has gone off, they've ran away, and they're living their life now. I mean, they're married, they're happily married, and they don't realize that they've left some shit behind, which hasn't been cleaned up, and someone has to be responsible of cleaning that up.
No, actually, some people actually think in those terms. Like one of my friends whose family opposed. Oh God, I have so many of these stories, don't I?
Here we go.
One of my friends whose family opposed her marriage to her boyfriend who's from another community or some shit like that. She even considered letting him go, like not pursuing the relationship anymore, because she knew that the only option for her was to leave her family behind and go live with him and be happy. And if she did that, her sister would go through shit because of that, because apparently the family took her sister to church counseling.
Church counseling?
Yep, church counseling to tell her that her sister is a bad example and she should, I mean, they made her swear that she would never
So
be like her
so
sister or
wait, so
something.
wait, so when you go to church counseling,
Yeah.
who is a counselor?
I think a
The
priest.
priest is a counselor.
And
So now the priest
yeah,
is actually telling this person that your
yeah,
sister did
yeah.
something wrong.
And not only that, your sister's boyfriend is a criminal and is going to kill her, and you should never meet this guy. If you meet this guy is going to sell you because
Man,
he's a
if that
bad. Yeah.
happens, you should just walk out and say, "Only God can judge me."
Yeah.
It's the best way to do it.
I mean, this kid, the sister that we're talking about is a kid, right? The sister is in like the seventh grade or something, 13 years old.
Oh, poor girl.
Yeah, like 12, 13 years old.
Man, you should be playing Pokemon at that age. You
Yeah,
shouldn't be
and she's
like
being
sitting with priest, man.
yeah, she's sitting with a priest, and the priest is telling her that her sister's boyfriend is going to kill her or something,
She's
and you
probably,
should never meet.
but the thing is,
Yeah,
Ankita, at the age of 12 or 13, there's only so much, you have a certain perception of the world. Yeah, at the
yeah,
age of 12 or
yeah.
13, you don't know. I mean, you don't know what's right, what's wrong. You can't perceive what's actually happening.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
And finally, I think when my friend's boyfriend decided to visit the family or something, this 12-year-old kid freaked out, and
Yeah.
this kid was like, no, 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 not him, please, no, let him not come and meet me. I don't want to meet him.
When you have, like, you as you mentioned, that they take them to church counseling, I have seen before that it's not just counseling, but they'll start bringing other people. So they'll say, like in Hindi, they will say tu samjha, like you try and console her, like they would
Oh,
say that,
okay.
right? Like
Yeah.
we can't control it, so maybe if we bring this person in who she looks up to, or maybe they can control it. And these are all just acts of desperation. Now, Ankita, when you have all this pressure on you, when you have your parents saying, look, please don't do, and the thing is, when they say these things like, please don't do to us what she did, please, we have all our hopes on you, like at least you can be good to us, or at least you can be our ray of hope. And this brings a lot of pressure.
And more than pressure, Meenal, I feel that this younger child, whoever is left behind, even if it's not a child, even if it's like a 17, 18-year-old
Yeah.
kid, this person is seeing the parents go through a lot of pain. I mean,
Mhm.
it is a lot of pain to realize that, especially in an Indian community, to realize that your daughter has eloped and your position in the community, etc. People are going to talk behind our backs. More than that, the daughter is gone. It's you lost your child,
Yeah.
right? And it is a lot of pain. So obviously, the parents are going to cry a little bit. They're going to be upset. The child sees this and decides, I can't ever let my parents go through that pain. I don't want to see them cry like that again.
That is very true, Ankita. But I think if you look at it from another angle, Ankita, we can also think about, yes, our parents mean the world to us. We don't want to see them upset. We don't want to see them cry. But if they're not helping themselves, how can we help them? Because if you have any parent who takes these measures and puts this pressure on the younger daughter, or does all these crazy things to try and rectify somebody else's mistake, they're not helping anybody. I
Yeah,
mean, this,
but my point is the mindset is already there. The younger child is already in this mindset that I can't let this happen. Meena, I don't have siblings, so
yeah.
so the only way I remember that the first time I saw my dad cry was when our dog died,
Hmm.
and it was so it was
Did he
actually
cry?
so.
Did he cry at your wedding?
No, he cried on the day of my wedding because I couldn't eat for some reason with my hands because I was being lazy, and he was feeding me with his own hands, and he started
Okay.
crying. And like that aside, this was when our dog died. Let's go back to that. So I never seen him die, even when other close family members died or anything. But when the dog died, my dad cried, and I told him, Dad, no more pets. You
Yeah.
can't have a pet dog anymore because that was damage control for me
Hmm.
because I don't want it to cry anymore,
Yeah.
right? So similarly, the younger child also sees this and decides, no, I don't want my parents to cry anymore. And on top of that, when the restrictions come, the child accepts them. And at that time, even if the kid thinks that this is slightly unfair, all the resentment is directed towards the elder sibling and not towards the institution or the other people who are imposing these restrictions on the kid.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Ankita. And I think that when you're in that position, you can't really think about anything else. You don't have that clear mind space to say, actually, maybe I can try this, or I can. You can't. You just can't. And this is a big issue, Ankita, because this person has a big rock to carry on their shoulders, and some people don't have shoulders broad enough to deal with this, and they'll try to deal with it as much as they can, Ankita. But by nodding along to everything, and by saying yes to everything, and trying to accept everything, it might actually affect them down the line, where they one day they might get married to someone and it's not fully their choice, or they might do things which they've had to do because they wanted to please their parents, but ultimately they're not happy inside.
And in most cases, the parents just wait till it's a good enough time to get this younger child married, but they try to get this child married as soon as possible, like as soon as this kid gets out of college or is done with education, so that society doesn't say anything about her educational degree, and
Yep.
then immediately after that they try to get this kid married so that nothing of this sort ever happens again.
Anybody who gets married, any couple, when they dream of having kids or when they dream of having a family, they always have this idea that, okay, our kids will do this, our kids will do that. What I didn't have, I will give to my kids. And to some extent, that is lovely. It's a really beautiful thing to be able to do, to grow your family. But when you start to try and live the life that you didn't have through your children, and you direct all your energy to that one person, it becomes very stressful. And sometimes a lot of us just nod along with it because this is our culture, Ankita. When we're not raised in this way where we say, actually, you know what, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But instead we're raised in such a way, our society is built upon these values where we say, okay, my mom has told me, so I'll just do it just to make her happy.
So, Meenal, do you remember the time when, from the age of like 15 to 17, that's when kids started getting mobile phones and it was a big deal?
It was a lot younger for me, Ankita, because I remember I remember the age of 12, everyone was playing Snake, and I was like, I
Ah,
need to get myself a Nokia. And I remember like
right.
telling my parents like I want to get a phone. And obviously I think it was a bit earlier for me because I was in Europe,
Yeah.
so
No,
we were
but
a
in
bit ahead of the
India,
trends.
yeah, in India, when I was growing up, 15 to 17 was when we started getting our first phones and that was only because that's when all the tuition started, the
Right.
extra tuition classes,
Yeah.
and parents had to drive us around and get us to tuition classes, and sometimes we'd have like two or three in a day, and they'd have to pick us up at night
Mhm.
so that we could send them a text when we're done. So that was a big deal, and sometimes kids were snatched of their mobile phone privileges because an elder sister eloped. And
Mm.
that is just sad because everyone else has a mobile phone and this
Yeah,
kid has
and
no
you don't.
idea why.
It sounds silly right now to say, but when that 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid is in that situation, they will feel left out. And at the age of 12 or 13, no matter how young you are, you still want to be cool. You still want to be the leader of the pack. You still want to have that reputation that you're the coolest person around. And I mean, what can a 12-year-old say? Oh, my sister ran away with this guy, so I don't have a phone anymore.
Oh, 12 is still okay. I think that's more reasonable. Imagine you're 17 and everyone has really cool phones, and you're saying, oh, my sister ran away, so I can't have a phone anymore because I might have a boyfriend. Another thing is this internet thing, because when I was growing up, I didn't have internet in my house till I was, I don't know, in 10th grade because my parents did not understand the
Yeah.
internet and they feared it because everyone told them that, remember that other girl from that other family who ran away with a guy she met on the internet? And immediately everything about the internet is
When-
bad. Right, abort mission.
yeah.
And if I had a project or something, my dad would drive me to the library and we'd get books, and I would do my project with old fashioned library books. And I was one of the youngest in the family, which is why there were others in the family who got Facebook and all that before me. And then my parents thought it was okay for me to also join all these social
Hmm.
media platforms.
Yeah.
I think that it's basically a lack of awareness that resulted in that. Now,
Hmm.
add to that the fact that some older sibling eloped.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a guy she met on the internet or a guy she was chatting with on the internet.
It's already quite bad sometimes as it is, just dealing with these like pressures from our parents saying, don't call this person, don't go on the internet to do this. And then if you have that idea that, oh my God, like, I can't do this now because this has just happened in my family. So you have that double pressure. When I was on MSN Messenger, that's what we used to use in those days. My dad used to just sit behind me all the time and used to watch. And
Ah,
he would pretend he wasn't watching, but obviously I'm not stupid. I knew that he was
yeah,
watching everything. And he said
yeah.
these things, like he would say these things to me. He would say, Mino, every day I go to the internet company and they just print out all your messages because I know what's happening.
Oh,
And
oh,
obviously, as a 12-year-old, I believe that. So I still remember I used to go to school every day and tell my friends, like, don't write this, don't write that, don't type this, don't type that.
oh.
So so it wasn't even fun to be an MSN Messenger anymore, because I had that pressure. And you're very right, Ankita, because we already have this pressure, and now imagine adding on to that, the fact that you have to please your parents in some way.
Now that you mentioned the MSN Messenger thing, I just remembered another thing that happened. Once internet finally came into my house, right? Finally came into my house. I had this Yahoo email thing, and someone sent me an email or something, and at the base of the email I think there was an option, do you want to chat with this guy, and it was a boy, right, a classmate from school or something, and do you want to chat with this boy on Yahoo Messenger? And I don't know if my parents were spying or something from behind. They were like, oh, you want to chat with a boy? Are you going to chat with a boy? And I couldn't figure out what was happening because he hadn't even sent me an invite. I hadn't sent him an invite. It was just, I think, at the base of an email or something. Oh, you want to talk to a boy? Are you talking to boys? And I thought that was right now, I feel it was such a waste of energy and time trying to discuss this and trying to, make each other understand what is happening. It was just lack of awareness.
Yeah, and I think to some extent, Ankita, you're right. It is a lack of awareness, and that's very true. But we as kids, we seek approval. So you want to tell your parents that, oh yeah, I'm just chatting with a few friends, and you want your parents to be cool with everything that you do. And we seek this validation, and we seek approval that what we're doing is okay and what we're doing is not a bad thing. And everyone needs everyone else's approval, whether it's your uncle, your mom, your aunt, or whoever. But nobody is just waiting for you with open arms to say, actually, come here, child. I'm going to accept everything you do in your life. Come give me a big hug. It's not going to happen.
The thing with approval is, as you explained, it's like a pyramid. So the child needs the parents' approval, and the parent needs the family's approval. The family needs the society's approval. The society, it goes on and on like that. So what they try to do is, look, I'm getting it right. I'm raising a good daughter. I'm making sure that she's a good child who doesn't have a boyfriend and who'll marry someone we choose for her. At the same time, I'm raising a good son who will be more accomplished career-wise and education-wise than his cousin or than our neighbor.
Yeah.
Right? But deep down, right? Deep down, everyone is selfish. And the only motive of trying to please each other or of establishing this need to please is to satisfy one's own ego. Suppose someone's getting married and someone says, oh, isn't that a beautiful bride? There can be a person on the other side who says, she may be beautiful, but she's not educated enough. Did you know that my daughter-in-law is an IIM graduate? So the second lady who made that remark about how, oh, she's not educated, that lady was only trying to make sure that everyone knows that I have the better deal. Similarly, oh, isn't that boy a really nice match for Maya because he's an IIT graduate? Mm-hmm. So the same lady could say, oh, but have you seen his face?
Yeah.
Right? My grandkids are so cute because I made sure that my son-in-law is a handsome man, and what'll their grandkids look like? So it's always about establishing that I got the better deal. Everyone wants to prove that.
It just seems like everything that people want has to be like sort of factory made, and it's impossible. You know, people want like a specimen as their son-in-law. People want a specimen as a daughter-in-law. That can't happen. Like, it's just it's ridiculous, Ankita, that even we see it all the time. But you're right, Ankita, that people will worry that, oh, she might be saying this behind my back, or she must have said this. Or they might think, actually, maybe we didn't raise our daughter well enough. And I've heard this before so many times, Ankita, so many times where people have said, I must have done a mistake in raising you, or I must have done, not just to me, but to, I've just heard it generally in families. They said, oh, what mistake did we do in raising you? Oh my God. You feel guilty. Like, did I not abide by those rules? Did I do something wrong? Where did I fuck up? Or where did I go wrong? And you have this, people want everything to be perfect.
Yeah, and the main issue is more than the approval. Are they going to talk behind our backs? Because I recently heard that one of my family friends mentioned if you put up a lot of pictures on Facebook or something, people will come and like it and they will smile and say, oh, what a nice picture. But behind your back, they'll be saying, oh, don't they have anything better to do? Right? So everyone's worried about what people are going to say behind your back. But that is being said behind your back. You really don't need to worry about that. That is something no one understands.
People will find nicks to pick. There'll always be something to pick. And the thing is, like, so all these things we've just spoken about, these are all sort of implications which happen to the younger daughter, or these are all reasons why they happen. So, Ankita, we've spoken about a girl eloping.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at it so obviously, if she's not homosexual, obviously she's going to run away with a guy. Now, if you look at it from the guy's family...
No, if she's homosexual in an Indian society, oh God,
Oh
that
my
is
God, that's another story.
wow.
That's next
Yep,
episode material. There
next
we go.
episode.
um,
Oh.
yeah, so if we're looking at a scenario where the girl is not homosexual and she runs away with the guy, now this guy has his own family and his own story. So what happens there? I mean, that's
Oh,
just
let me tell you.
let's.
Oh, let me tell you what happens there.
It's another can of
Oh,
worms
so
we've opened over here.
the thing is, in most religions in India, what I have noticed is that if a boy brings home a girl from another community, although there will be problems, people are going to say, oh, but she's coming into our family and she's a new member that he has brought into the community, hence strengthening the community because, she has to convert into our religion or whatever. And now the community is stronger and it's not a problem because she has come into our family. Does
But
that make
okay,
sense?
that is right, Ankita, because obviously in Indian families, the woman is getting married into the husband's family. It's a union of two families, but it's obviously the girl who has to leave her family to go into her husband's family. Now, what you've mentioned is very true because the guy won't have it as bad as the girl would have it.
Because in the end, the guy's family will say, oh, if they have children, the grandchild is going to take our son's surname,
Yep.
right? Our family name. And the grandchild will be either baptized or initiated into our whatever religion.
I mean, that always happens. So now this girl who's eloped, she has left her family behind, which may or may not be easy. It all depends on how bad your situation is. So she's gone to hell and back. She's left her family. Now she goes into this new family. And she goes into this new family and she has to start not even a new chapter. She has to start a new bloody book now. Like that
Yeah.
book is gone. Like,
Yeah.
you can't start a new chapter. You have to start a whole new life now. So she goes into this family and now she has this sort of pressure because she must have eloped to be free to open her wings, but to some extent that may have not happened because now she's gone into this family and now she has another set of rules to follow. And Ankita, I know that in Indian families it's very common that if a woman has sort of eloped or ran away or married without her family's consent, she will be reminded of it for the rest of her life.
Oh, of course she will be. You know what they say generally? If she could leave her parents who cared for her and brought her up, if she could leave them for you, then how can you be sure that she's not going to leave you for another man?
And that's the thing, Ankita, that I mean, once again, we're going on a different tangent, but everything we mention has so much depth and so much to speak about. But you're right, Ankita, that when the girl goes into the guy's family, she is now like an extra addition, a new addition that has come in.
So to the boy, they'll be like, okay, fine. You married a woman of your choice. You brought her into this family. The community is stronger now, etc. But to the girl, they're always going to be like, you still left your family
Yep.
behind. You still. How can we be sure that you won't leave our son someday? And all these taunts, and in Hindi they say "tane dena,"
Yeah.
"tane marna." I
Yeah.
don't know.
Tane marna,
Yeah.
tane dena,
"Tane marna."
whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
We hear that every single. And the thing is, I think like Desi people are really good at doing that subtly as well. It's like
Yep.
genetic.
Passive
Yeah.
aggressive. Yeah, they're good at it. But another thing I was thinking about while we're still on the topic is, what if the younger sibling that the eloping girl leaves behind is a boy? What happens to the boy? Do you think the boy's condition
The boy
is
won't have it as
different?
tough. The boy won't have it as tough. I'm very sure.
Definitely not.
I think to some extent the parents would want the boy to get married to a specific type of girl or a robot or I don't know whatever. But it won't be as bad, Ankita. And I actually think that if it was a guy, to some extent the parents would be a bit more lenient and say, actually, we don't mind if you bring this type of girl because we don't want to lose you as well.
Or they would say that he's an engineer, and how can we prevent an engineer? Or he's going to become an engineer. How can we prevent him from accessing the internet? He needs the internet. Or they will
Yeah.
say he needs his mobile phone because he's a boy and he has his freedom and he has to go out with his friends. We need to be able to contact him. So he needs a phone.
The reason why that is easier on the boy is because why? You know the answer. And the answer is because he's going to bring a woman into the family and he's going to continue the family's tradition. So
Yeah.
they're actually going to be a bit more lenient and say, we don't want to lose somebody else. So we're going to just try and play cool and let him use his phone and let him do all these things. And if there are any guys listening right now, like actually all hate all of you because you guys have it so easy. I'm not blaming all of you. I mean, I've seen in families where girls and boys are treated equally, but at the same time, I've seen the opposite end. And you guys actually have it really easy a lot of the times,
A
just
lot of the
because.
times, yes, but in a lot of families there is a lot of equality. Like I've heard one of my teachers was telling us how when her mother-in-law visits, her mother-in-law sort of serves the grandson more than the granddaughter and tells the granddaughter that she should take her brother's plate to the kitchen. So my teacher would be like, no, she tells her son, you take your plate to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Your sister is not going to touch your plate, and your sister gets as much food. So it's different in different families. Parents are different in different families. I get it, but if a son is the one who's left behind, all I'm saying is that he will not be plucked out of his co-ed school or college and
Oh, of course not.
forced.
But the thing is, Ankita, if, for example, if you have a brother and a sister relationship, and we're talking about this scenario between a brother and a sister, it causes drifts, it causes resentment,
Of
and
course.
you start. The thing is, Ankita, I think love comes in all different types of forms. Pure love can be between a mother and a daughter, between siblings. It can be between your spouse and your companion. And any bond that you have with your sibling is pure love. And once that is broken, it's so tough to bind it again, because it's, especially when you go through so much resentment, when you go through so much hatred, that why did this happen? Why did he get the lucky end of the stick? Why didn't I?
And breeding resentment among siblings is so easy, especially the parents are the ones who do it most of the time. So imagine this. Elder daughter has a boyfriend. She comes home, she tells them. So the first thing most people say, right, when all the melodrama that I mentioned earlier, before the threats, is the emotional melodrama stage.
Yeah.
So the first thing they would say is, but you have a younger sister, and if you marry outside the community, no one's gonna marry your younger sister. How can you be so selfish? How can you not think about her? Right, that is common. But if it is the elder son who has a girlfriend, imagine that an elder son has a girlfriend and he has a younger sister at home. He comes home, tells his parents that I have a girlfriend who's from another community. I would like to, marry her. What do you think the parents say? In most cases, I'm not saying this is what happens everywhere. What I've seen, this is from a personal experience. This is something I know.
Yeah.
They said in this particular case, they said that let's keep it hush for the time being. Don't tell anyone, don't let anyone find out about
Oh,
it.
wow.
Let's get your younger sister married as soon as possible to a person from our community, so that at least the first marriage in the family is a traditional wedding, the way we want it, and then you can do whatever the hell you want.
Hashtag dramatic pause.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pregnant pause.
I don't know, Ankita, like this kind of thing gets me so, I wouldn't say angry, but it's more disappointment that these things still happen. It's not that I'm not angry, because we live in a society where things still happen, and I know it still happens, but it's disappointing to hear these stories again and again
It's
and again.
depressing, isn't
And
it?
you would expect to hear these stories at a lower frequency as we progress in our generations. Unfortunately we don't. And
No, like we both, especially, are at that age where our friends are either married or getting married or have boyfriends or fiancés or having kids. Some of them are having kids. So I get to hear so many of these stories, especially because I was raised there, right? I have so many friends there, and I get to hear all these, which is why the story that I just told you about the elder son having and the daughter is not even ready to get married or anything, and the family is like, but you have to,
so
let's get you married first.
did they force the girl to get married?
They are forcing the girl to get married so that before news leaks that the son has a, and the son is saying, I want to marry my girlfriend too, so can you just do this fast, get it over with, so that I can get married
Oh
to my
my
girlfriend.
god.
Yeah.
And now this poor girl will think, I have so much pressure around me. And I think, Ankita, I think when someone is under so much pressure, when someone is under so much stress where they just want to give up, unfortunately, a lot of, like, this girl, she might just say, actually, whatever, I'm just going to do it just to shut everybody up. And just by making that one decision, she's going to ruin the rest of her life.
No, I personally know this girl who she's slightly older than me, and when I was really young, she was married and she was talking to me about relationships and marriage and stuff like that. I remember she did her MBA, which back in the day was a big deal. There was a time when MBA was a big deal in India, and I think it still is. But anyway, when there was this hype, she did her MBA and then she started working with this really nice company, and she was earning and she was having a blast. Her life was amazing, and her family just says, oh, time's up, time to get married now. And they even gave her the choice, your horoscope, according to your horoscope, you have to get married within the next 6 months. So if you have a
If not,
boyfriend, you're ready
what's
to,
gonna happen? If
she'll
not,
never
what's gonna
get married,
happen?
or she'll never have kids, or she'll die, or I don't know. I don't know. It's a horoscope. Anyone can predict bullshit.
Or make up bullshit. It's more like making up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying horoscope. I'm not saying it's all shit, right?
No. I think that
But
obviously, yeah. I mean, I respect that side of our culture. Of course, I
yeah,
do. But when your parents are saying things like you have to get married within
like,
six
yeah,
months, I mean, come
within
on.
6 months. Yeah, and they were even, I'm doing the air quote thing.
Uh
They were forward enough to say, you can introduce us to your boyfriend and we'll let you marry him, but it has to happen in 6 months. And she was like, unfortunately, I didn't have a boyfriend at the time, so I had to marry the guy they chose for me, and I'm so fucking unhappy with my life.
Oh dear.
So I feel that her situation is a lot similar. I feel that the girl I mentioned earlier with the brother putting pressure on her to get married, I think her situation is worse than the girl who got married and is unhappy.
Yeah, and I think Ankita, we have covered so much over here with this topic. Now, a lot of our listeners who are listening might actually be in this situation, might know somebody who's in this situation, or has already been through it. Now, Ankita, you haven't been through it yourself.
Oh God, I'm fortunate.
Yeah, so I think if you are going through this kind of situation, and like we always say this, that don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in, and don't be afraid to stand up for your own happiness. Like if you feel like you're going through this situation, best thing to do would be to either talk to someone who can help you, like even just talk to your sibling, talk to a relative, and tell them how you feel. Because a lot of the time, when this actually happens, it happens because nobody expresses their feelings or nobody acknowledges what's actually going on, or they refuse to acknowledge.
Or they're guilty. They feel that I could potentially do this to my parents, so I'm going to suffer so that my parents don't have to suffer.
I've been through that myself. We go through these emotions where we feel we are obliged to keep everybody happy, but feeling obliged to keeping everybody happy compared to actually just keeping everybody happy just out of who you actually are two different things. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you're happy when you're not. A lot of people will say, oh, actually, I'll just do what my parents say. I'll be okay.
3 years later, you will resent both them and your sibling.
3 years later, Ankita, maybe even 10 years later, I've worked in psychiatry over here in the hospital. People are coming in with stories and they're going back. Because when you do psychiatry, you have to go through the whole patient history. It's not like what happened to you yesterday, what happened to you last night. You go back and you keep digging and digging until you find that point. And Ankita, people have come in and they've gone back 30 years, 40 years.
Wow.
And they said 30 years, and it can be really small things. Like 30 years ago, my mom told me to be a doctor and I didn't want to be a doctor.
Oh,
Now my
wow.
mom doesn't treat me the same way. And now they're adults, they're grown people, and they can't deal with it because it's affected them. So if you're going through this, don't think that it's just going to affect you now. It's going to affect your life because this is not something that is really easy to just forget or just get on with because it's going to creep up in your mind somehow. So if you have this problem, solve it now and save yourself from a lot of issues in the future.
Definitely talk to someone who can either talk to your parents, or if you
And
feel that
if you don't have someone to talk to, I mean, we have our website. I mean, we have our community. Is anybody who's going through the same thing? Speak to each other. Speak to us. Send us emails. We'll try and help you as much as we can. It's not easy to go through this, and it's not easy to go through all this pressure. But I think having a helping hand or even having someone to speak to will make a huge difference.
So, in case you want to share your story with us, do send us an email to mail@desioutsiders.com. And if it's a story that you want us to share with the rest of our listeners, then do mention in your email that you want the story to be shared. And you can find us on social media at the Desi Outsiders. That's the end of episode 3. And we would love to hear from you. We would love to know what you thought of the episode. We would love to know if you've experienced something similar or even heard a similar story. We would love your stories to be sent in.
If you feel that there's any topic that you want us to discuss, if you feel that there's a topic that isn't discussed enough, whether it's on the internet or between your friends, and you want us to discuss it, do let us know. We'll be more than happy to tackle any topic you bring to us.
I mean, I even talk about my drinking on my blog, and my mom said, don't do that. And Obviously, I'm going to talk about it here.
I talk about this concerning issue about talking to stuffed animals when Ankita is
Oh,
away.
yes.
So
Yes.
we all have our issues that we can speak about here. It's an open book.
Yeah. So do send us emails, do find us on social media, do support us. We would love to hear from you. And until next time, I'm Ankita.
And I'm Meenal.
And we are the Desi Outsiders.